After David had defeated Goliath, King Saul called Abner, the captain of his army, and said, "Whose son is this youth, who has slain the Philistine giant with nothing more than a sling and a stone?" Abner replied, "O king, I do not know." The king said, "Inquire, and bring him before me." So, David was brought before the king. "Whose son are you?" he asked. David said, "I am the son of thy servant, Jesse." The king thought for a moment, and then he said, "You shall come to reside with me in my palace from this day forward." From that time on, David became a trusted member of the king's court. He sat at the table with the king, the captain, and the king's son Jonathan. David grew in wisdom and in stature, and he and Jonathan became very good friends. Jonathan was an excellent marksman, and often schooled David in the art of archery. As their friendship grew, Jonathan respected David and admired him for his great bravery. He cherished their special bond, as designed by God himself, and he loved David as his own soul. Jonathan gave David his robe, his sword, and his bow. David bowed and accepted these gifts, saying, "These are gifts to God's mightiest of warriors." Soon Saul set David over the men of war. All the people admired him, and the servants respected him. And Jonathan, his true friend, rejoiced with him. Again and again, David went out to battle, and every time, the Lord gave him victory. The people loved him, and David led with courage and honor. Soon, his name was known all throughout Israel. All seemed well, until one day after a victory, King Saul rode into Jerusalem. The people cheered, though their voices were measured and polite. But as David entered behind him, the women of Israel lifted their tambourines and sang with joy. Their voices rang through the streets. "Saul has slain his thousands, but David his tens of thousands." The celebration echoed across the city, and all of Israel knew the favor of the Lord was with David. When Saul heard the women's song, his heart burned with jealousy. His joy turned to anger. He said to Abner, "They have ascribed to David tens of thousands, but to me only thousands. He has won the hearts of the people." David had become a threat to his throne. One evening inside the palace hall, David played his harp calmly to soothe the king. But King Saul, tormented by an evil spirit, watched from his throne, a javelin in his hand, his face twisted with anger. Suddenly, he hurls the javelin across the room. The javelin flies and pierces the wall next to David. David was able to escape, but it became clear to the king that the Lord was now with David, and had departed from him. Soon after, Saul called a secret meeting with his servants, and with his son, Jonathan. He declared that David must be killed. But Jonathan had a deep loyal friendship with David, and he warned him of his father's plot to kill him. He helped David escape from his father's evil plan. Jonathan told David to hide until morning in a secret place in the fields, so that he could have time to speak to his father and convince him that he was wrong to want to kill David. Jonathan spoke kindly to his father about David. "Father," he said, "please don't harm David. He hasn't done anything wrong to you. In fact, everything he's done has helped you. He risked his life to fight the giant, and through him, the Lord gave Israel a great victory. You saw it with your own eyes and were glad. Why would you hurt an innocent man who has done you only good?" After Jonathan had finished speaking, his father said, "You have spoken well, my son, and I shall listen, and I swear, as the Lord liveth, no harm shall come to David." Later, Jonathan went to the field and called for David. He told him all that the king had said, and together they went before Saul again. David stood in the king's presence, just as he had in the days before, and for a while, all was well. Friendship is very important in God's eyes. In fact, the Bible says a friend loves at all times, and Jesus is a friend that sticks closer than a brother. If you need a friend, be a friend. And remember, A real friend is loyal and trustworthy, and will give you the right counsel and advice. You can be like Jonathan too. A loyal friend who helps others, stands for what is right, and trusts God no matter what. For more great biblical stories, subscribe, like and share the Bible and me on YouTube. See you next time.